regular board meeting for the Rosamond Community Services District. The meeting's being held tonight at the district office. I'd like the record to know that we have all five directors present at the district here for the meeting. Today's Wednesday, July 27th, 2022. And can I have a roll call, please? President Rick Webb. I'm here. Vice President Byron Glennan. Here. Director Ben Stewart. Here. Director Alfred Wallis. Here. Director Greg Wood. Here. 5-0. 5-0. Here. Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Steve, here on the agenda, that matter about the boom truck, did you want that to be tabled on here? Okay, we'll address it, okay. Can I get an approval of the agenda, please? So moved. We have a motion by Director Glennan, Director Wood. May I get a second, please? Second. Second, Director Stewart. May I have a vote, please? President Webb? Yes. Vice President Glennan? Yes. Director Stewart? Yes. Director Wallis? Yes. Director Wood? Yes. 5-0. With 5-0 vote. At this time, public comments. At this time, any person may address the board in any subject within the district's jurisdiction which is not on the agenda. However, any non-agenda matter will be referred to staff for report and or action at a subsequent board meeting. No action can be taken on any such item discussed unless the action has been authorized under 5495 4.2 of the Government Code. Any person may also address the board on any agenda matter at the time the matter discussed prior to board's consideration and action. Speakers are requested to limit their time, set their comments to 5 minutes, and it's now 6:02, and we're open the floor for public comments. Hearing none. You have the floor there, Director Glennan. At the last regular meeting, I kind of went through the history of specifically the water district. I'm kind of staying with that theme again this evening of the focusing on the school. If you pay any attention to the political issues, education is really got some major problems as far as curriculum is concerned. The focus will be on the budget for the Southern Unified School District in the 57-58 year. The budget for 57-58. I was in the 8th grade in Southern Fern at that time. The proposed budget was $106,000. Oh my goodness. A year. They had, they were proposing a 5% raise that year. There were 25 employees, certified and certificate. 25 employees. The highest teacher was paid $5,400 a year. A year. Oh my goodness. A substitute teacher was paid $18 a day. Oh my goodness. The teachers I had were Mrs. Williams, Mrs. Payne, Mrs. Swanson, Mrs. Pilcher, Mrs. Wasey, Mr. Stein, Mrs. Kirk, Mrs. Lawson, and Mr. Siegel. There was one class for each one. Mr. Lawson was superintendent. Lawson was superintendent, right? Yeah, that's right. Right. He was the superintendent, right? Her husband. Yeah. But their budget was $106,000, and they were going to give a 5% raise. Oh my goodness! It's 57, 58. Their daughter was a teacher. She went on to be a teacher. It's just interesting to me that what was taught in Southern Fern Unified School District during those years, it would be great if we would revert back to that. The math, the history, the science. We could go back to those textbooks, and we'd probably be doing a lot better than the current textbooks. That's amazing. Can I tell you something that I will be really sad one day, because I know we won't get those reports, but
that literally goes to show you that if you don't do the things, history doesn't repeat itself. Yeah, you just made a point there. All you got to do is know how to add, read, and do your sciences, and you can get by and watch.
Yeah. They're struggling now with what kind of pronouns you use. Drake might want to be called she, so I can't say he. You do, but I'll go on record now. You can call me he.
How about us call me friend, and let's be done with it.
You know, Byron, what you were talking about school back when you were in 8th grade and stuff. And, you know, I remember when I was in school, not that far back, in 1957, I was only 2 years old. But it's funny that, like, you're rubbing that in with, no, with today's students, I was not, math and English and things like that were not my favorite subjects. I did them, but I didn't like them. But my favorite subject, because it was history, it just fascinated me to learn history. I loved U.S. history. I loved European history, ancient, going back into some of the Greek history and things of that nature. So I love history because I've always been a believer that we learn from history, and if we do learn from history, then we are less apt to repeat it. So I'm hoping that in today's schools that they do take history, you know, as an important lesson plan, because I think that every person benefits from learning about history and learning about the past. Western civilization has been dropped from the curriculum. It used to be a class that was required, Western civilization.
Well, I will say two things about it. First of all, I want to know from you, were there any dinosaurs when you were in school? But I learned through home economics, I learned how to take care of myself and wash the clothes, prepare food and all that. I know they don't do that anymore. But, no, and I think I think we have the benefit of having the history timeline that you, Director Wallis, and even Steve, and he's a junior in the group here, but it's perspective because sometimes you guys, I remember Steve, you bought about a watering hole that you guys used to put in. We were talking about something, you bought the watering hole. That's how you get who you are, because you know the history you came from. Mm-hmm. And I think we're afraid to talk about our history, but Byron is showing it right there. And some of the things that were talked about 50, 60 years ago at the time of the day, that they weren't in. So thank you for sharing those.
Yes. Mrs. Williams was Rule Williams' wife. My kindergarten rule was major emphasis in AVAC. If there wasn't a Rule Williams, AVAC probably wouldn't be what it is today.
I appreciate the history.
That's the difference. When I was in kindergarten, Byron was in college.
Right. Oh my goodness, with the dinosaurs, right? Okay. So let's continue with voluntary roll call via teleconference. Any member of the public on teleconference who wishes to identify themselves for the meeting may do so, and we open the floor for that.
Thank you, President Webb and members of the board. John Choice reporting for the Rosamond News.
Good evening, John.
Hey, good evening.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I was just repairing a water line.
You both stepped on each other? Can you do that again?
There was two, huh? Okay.
We didn't get the
Ken with Kennedy James.
Oh, Ken.
Good evening.
Who was it? Ken with Kennedy.
Kennedy Jinx, the engineer with around the front. Let's go down here. And what I'm going to do is we're going to go on to the minutes on the agenda here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to combine the two committee reports as one item to vote on, and that'll be to approve the July 19th, 2022 Government Public Affairs Committee meeting minutes, and the July 18th, 2022 Personnel Committee meeting. Is it time for Steve meeting minutes? Yes. Okay. So can I get a motion to approve M1 and M2 together, please? So moved. Okay, I have a motion by Vice President Glennan. May I get a second, please? I'll second. Director Wallis, thank you, sir. Okay, can I get a roll call vote for that, please?
President Webb?
Yes.
Vice President Glennan?
Yes.
Director Stewart?
Yes.
Director Wallis?
Yes.
Director Wood?
Yes. The M1 and M3 is a 5-0 vote for approval, and now we'll go down to M2, M4, and M5, and that's approved the July 19, 2022 Special Board meeting minutes. It's the July 14th, 2022 Special Board meeting minutes, and M5 is the July 13th, 2022 regular board meeting. Can I get a motion for those, please? So moved. I got a motion by Director Wood. May I have a second? Second. A second by Director Stewart. May I have a roll call vote, please?
President Webb?
Yes.
Vice President Glennan? Yes. Director Stewart? Yes. Director Wallis?
Yes.
Director Wood? Yes. 5-0.
5-0 here. We're going down to the consent calendar, and we have CC1 that's approved the check voucher register from 6/14/2022 to 7/18/22. That's CC1. CC number 2 is the cash balances for May of 2022. CC3 is the cash balances for June of 2022. CC4 is the reserve balances, and CC5 is the fourth quarter treasurer's report. I'm sure the directors had time to review that. If there are no questions, can I get a motion to approve CC1, CC2, CC3, CC4, and CC5?
So moved.
Motion by Director Wood. May I get a second? A second by Director Wallis. May I have a roll call, please?
President Webb?
Yes.
Vice President Glennan?
Yes.
Director Stewart?
Yes.
Director Wallis? Yes. Director Wood? Yes. 5-0.
Show 5-0. We'll continue with new business. And MB number 1 is to approve the disposal of the Simon Row boom truck. And the General Manager Steve Perez has a presentation. Go ahead, sir.
We're before you this evening to seek permission to liquidate dwindling asset, if you will, which is our boom truck. It is broken down. It's in disrepair. It's got a blown engine, and we're seeking permission to sell it if we can. And with that, the appraisal is not yet completed, but we will report back to the board as soon as Brad's able to complete the appraisal. Tonight, we're just seeking permission to liquidate that asset.
Okay, Steve, do you need a vote on that, or you just need...
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, is there any other questions on that? Let's get a motion before we have any questions. Can I have a motion to approve the disposal of the truck? Can I get a motion from someone, please? I got a motion by President White, a motion by Director Wood, a second by Director Stewart. You guys are going to give me the numbers, okay? So now we have a motion on the floor and we have a second. Directors, any question before we vote on it? Before we do the disposal of the truck?
Steve, I just got a question. I know that we're using the independent person to come in with any boom truck work that we need done at the moment, correct?
If we have that work to be done, yes.
And what about our service vehicles? Are they equipped with Ventura cranes?
No.
No?
Maybe, I think we have one.
Just one?
Yeah.
But will not serve the function of what a boom truck.
Right.
No, it won't serve a function, but it might be a good idea, because, I mean, if there's an emergency, you have to know what the rating is on the Ventura that we have. Is it a 5-ton, 10-ton?
I think it's a 5, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's a 5-ton.
Could you, this really isn't in regards to this, but could you bring back to the board, if we have a vehicle that could have a 20-ton or a 25-ton Ventura added to the truck? wouldn't take any special licensing for that, but it would sure be nice to have that, especially 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and we need to get a pull, that we don't have to wait for a boom truck to get here on site.
Yes, I'll look into the cost of that and give you a report next meeting.
That'd be great. Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other directors? Okay, can we get a vote on that so you can move forward with the disposal of the boom truck? Can I get a vote there, please?
You had the vote?
I mean, we didn't know. We just brought up the motion.
Okay.
So now we have to vote.
President Webb?
Yes.
Vice President Glennan?
Yes.
Director Stewart?
Yes.
Director Wallis?
Yes.
Director Wood?
Yes.
5-0.
5-0 vote. Okay, we're moving on to new business number 2. That's approval of the contract. It's the third amendment to the employment agreement contract in the state of today's date, July 27, 2022. Folks, so Director, what I'd like to do is that we have the evaluation here, and in preparing this here, I think we all know that the challenges that we had during this period here. Stephen, I'll tell you up front, I don't think with as many fronts as you had to address there, the fact that one person yourself was able to address them, I thank you. I know we got many, many moving parts, but I guess that shows the work of someone when they can address all the parts. And some of the headings in the evaluation was the COVID issue, water purchases, which has become the big thing in the room, water reclamation project that's currently going on, and you still held together the district operations. So I think that all those were addressed there, but I think the most important thing was that beside that, it was your staff. At one point we had staff, being down with COVID, but not whatever, you guys worked through it, you and the folks worked through it. That comes from leadership. I think that's an important thing. We talk leadership all the time, but talking leadership and being the leader is a little bit different. So I appreciate that. And the only thing I just want to make aware here is that during this the evaluation period is June 12, 2020 to June 11, 2022. And I'm only going to read the top part, Steve. It says during this waiting period, the General Manager Steve Perez was rated in several categories. The manner in which these tasks are performed and handled shall support an overall rating of outstanding. I think when we looked at what you did, Steve, all the directors were in support of that evaluation there. And the challenges faced by the district staff and General Manager at times seemed insurmountable. The challenge for a COVID, water purchase, and water reclamation project. And I think each one of those, I'm not going to say knocked it out of the park, I'm just still working on them, but you did an outstanding job in them. And with this evaluation, the board has approved a 6% pay raise that's retroactive back to the June date of 2022. 2020.
21.
21, I'm sorry, 21.
Last evaluation was 2020.
Yeah, I'm sorry that. And then the only thing I think the big thing here, Steve, is that I appreciate the dynamics of what you had to go through. And I remember during those times we would have those emergency committee meetings, and I don't think you've never once not had the information for us or whatnot. And sometimes, you're out there supporting other districts. I don't think that even showed up that our district was helping some of the other districts with some of their emergencies there. So I appreciate that effort there.
I think one of the biggest challenges was the COVID, and establishing a COVID prevention plan was probably the biggest challenge in trying to determine how to keep our people from contaminating one another in the event that somebody got COVID. So that's when we split our crews in half. So they would not work together. If one of them got COVID and the others were exposed, we wouldn't lose our entire workforce and we could continue servicing. And I gotta say, we never did get to a point where we didn't have enough staff to service the community. In the office portion, but even they continued to work from home, had their computers, had their phones, answered calls and everything else, but stayed away from impacting other employees, which I got to say, my hat's off to the entire staff that was under a tremendous amount of pressure in doing so. And it was all in support of our community.
Well, the other part, too, it was being done on the fly. We're not talking about a huge staff either. They're talking about a staff of 20 people that you're trying to divide. I remember we were having some conversations about have one person sleep in the motor home, another person. We had some weird topics about trying to keep people well, but we got through it. And that's, like I said, that's what leadership does. It figures out a way. So what I would like to do before I give you this, I'd like to get a motion to approve the evaluation and the 6% pay raise. And then then I can give it to Steve so he can get a signature on it. So can I get a motion to approve the performance evaluation for the general manager? I have a motion by Director Stewart. May I get a second? A second by Director Wallis.
Can I say something?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. We have the motion by Stewart. We have the second by Director Wallis. Now I'm going to open the floor to the director if you have any comments you'd like to add.
I was telling this guy named Wallis, oh, that's my name. No, his name really is Wallis. He works for the Palmdale Water District. I was telling him what a great general manager we got and how you secured water for us and stuff. They haven't did that. He told me that. And I asked him if there's an adjudication. He said yes. And he said they got cut more than we did. The percentages were deep. When you go from a high of pumping 3,000 to an allocation of 404, it leaves a big void. And from the recent discussions about if we had to buy that water locally from ABAC, what was the market price, Greg? $2,500?
Market price now for water is starting at about $1,100 an acre foot, but for the dry year water, it's about $2,500 an acre foot, going up to $3,500 an acre foot. Price water is getting the Mark Twain comment that whiskey's for drinking and water for fighting. We're looking at that scenario now where people are going to be scrambling for water, especially when AVEC made the announcement. They're not going to be able to meet everybody's needs this year because of the drought. And so when these communities that have not done their preparation like we have done, they're going to be scrambling out there. Tippers are going to be getting up, and people are going to be getting real antsy until they can get water security, and it's going to cost them a lot of money. Al, were you doing yours?
But he also, I don't know, we just don't say we got to cross the table because he said, I don't understand where all these housing tracts, while we're doing that, and all these buildings. I said, they have to bring their water rights with them, right? Is that right? And people just don't seem to understand that in Rosamond. I might add to that comment you just made, it's a good point. In our water picture in this community, we assess our current property owners, our ratepayers, and we needed to secure sufficient water to serve our community. That was our existing ratepayers. That was the focus that the board set out for me to do. And any extra building, development, whatever, they had to pay for us to go find them water. And they had to bring their water. One way or another, it wasn't going to impact the water supply for those people in the community of Rosamond today. And so the new developments that you're seeing, they're paying an exorbitant amount to bring that water in. And so it's a good thing. We secured it for the existing ratepayers, and all others will pay for that water and will provide that water to them because they will pay for it. I want to say one last thing. Rosamond is very fortunate to have you. Thank you. Very fortunate. Thank you very much. Because you sure looked out for us. I'm through.
Any other director?
I'd like to see
Fire?
You know, I just want to take an opportunity here while we're evaluating our general manager, and I want to go on public. You know, we gave Steve a raise in 2020, June of 2020, 2% raise. And that was more or less a mutual agreement between him and the board. He felt that that was inadequate enough, and he was good with that. But you know, we got to look at what has happened with this agency since early 2020, and we've had to make everything up as we go along, because this is something that's just nobody had experienced this pandemic before. Last one was in 1918 that impacted this country. And Steve had to, you know, he had a mandate. He had to take care of the customers in this community. He had to go and find water for this community to where we could meet our current needs and future needs. And also, he had to figure out ways to keep the staff safe. He had to set up remote work locations for the staff, things that hadn't been done before. Steve went out there and orchestrated a lot of things where there were people down with COVID, but yet he was able to bring this agency to where we're at today, and being able to work on a sewage treatment plant and water reclamation plant and getting it up and running, full construction going on, infrastructure needs in the community, water leak repairs, maintenance of our sewer system, maintenance of our water system, and all of this during the pandemic, when we've had to improvise on being able to work at full staff because we couldn't put people together a lot of times, especially before the vaccine came out. And the one thing that wasn't lost on me or the rest of the board was the fact is that here we are 2.5 years later, and the community never missed a beat. Community never had an issue. Community was always taken care of. Their needs were always met, no matter what. And this is all on Steve. It's his leadership. Yes, he had help. He had a great staff working with him, but he was the conductor. He was the one directing everything to where we're at today, to where during these 2.5 years, we never had, as far as I know, because I ask Steve all the time, that we didn't have customer complaints about water not being, no water service or this or that. If there was a disruption in service, everybody was notified. Service was restored very quickly. It's just a lot of things. And I think a 6% raise is well-deserved, well-earned. And, I wish we were an agency that had some very deep pockets, because I wish it could be more. But 6% is a good payback for a job well done. And I just want to thank you for all that you've done, Steve, because we wouldn't be in the position we're in today without your leadership. Thank you very much.
Sure. The only thing I want to say, of course, is thank you, Steve, for the hard work you put in. I put it in a little bit of perspective. When he said our allocation was 400 acre feet, I'm not going to name names, but there is a cemetery in Lancaster that uses 300 acre feet of water a year. And the town of Rosamond was going to have 400 acre feet. Just put that in perspective. A cemetery was going to have 300, and the entire town of Rosamond had 400. Steve stepped up. He listened to what we said about how this is one of our top priorities, and we didn't wait till the last minute to go secure this, because we knew what was going to happen when you wait until the last minute to go get something. You're paying top price. appreciate the hard work, and every meeting that we had to discuss this, you had something new to tell us. There was never no development, or I haven't got a call back. You always had something to give us an update of some sort. So I appreciate the diligence on that.
Thank you. I might add one thing. In going through old documents, I found a Rosamond News, and I gave it to you just to remind you. It was a couple months before Steve was hired first up, and we had the approval to put in a natural gas.
Yeah. I didn't was going to bring that back up.
It won't go away.
It will not.
Just because I shot it down.
Well, we shot it down with good information, though.
I gave the paper to him, and I know that he can do it. But he will honest with it.
You know, were you done there, Byron? Were you done?
Yeah.
You know, I've heard what everyone said, and I'm going to look at it differently. I look at the insight and resources you brought to us, having been a supervisor and having your contacts, you know, with Kern County, we benefited. Having your contacts with your various committees at the state level, we benefited. But it's just like when people would get upset with us about things. When we vote on things, we vote on it for all of us. You lived here too. So no one had we don't live here to vote on things. So you brought us good information that we could vote on that made sense to the community. And Ben brought it. He just brought a point that I hadn't thought about. A cemetery was going to have more water to water the grass than people had to take care of that essentials. I remember when all those folks lined up in this boardroom because we were going to do that versus possession. But we weren't doing it to be mean. We were doing it to take care of a community. And we were taking a gut shot from all these people saying how bad of people we are. But we were doing it for the right reason. You brought us good information to support that. The rate increase, the rate study. Again, no one likes to go up on things, but you brought good information that we as the board can make good decisions on. And so they may have not been happy. But I think if you look over your shoulder now, some of that information that we voted on, that you gave us good information to vote on, it feels a little bit better, the fact that we can say our water supply is secured based on information we received, based on the anticipations you made to supply us. So I think it worked out really good, and that's the part I appreciate, because this is a real simple thing. I don't care how fancy we get. Does the faucet come on, and does it go down the drain? If we can accomplish those two things, I appreciate it, and that's what you've been doing for us. Thank you.
You know, and if you go back and look at how we operate here and the fact that we're all members of the community, it's real difficult for folks on the outside to understand why we make decisions like we do. And namely, one, the base rate, something the board supported, putting the base rate on the tax roll. I don't believe that people understood why we did that. And number one, there was a law passed in the legislature that would have prevented us from going after delinquent accounts and trying to prevent people from being delinquent. That was one. So to operate the district, we have to have that revenue. The other thing was COVID hit us square when we didn't expect it. And one of the things that I was told by Director Wallis, he told me, he said, look, I didn't support that, moving that to the tax roll, but if we had enough, our budget would have been decimated. So it was a good thing we did. Understanding why we did what we did is the evolution of being a board member, in understanding why are we making decisions like this? Is it because of our friends, or is it the right thing to do from a couple perspectives? It's the right thing to do for people, and it's the right thing in regard to doing business. And this board has basically set out the fact that we need to be mindful of business principles in order to operate this agency and not fall into a hole like we did before. Then it comes to budget. Why do we pass a deficit budget in these first 2 years? Well, it was because we knew how much we needed in order to reach a particular point 5 years in the future, and we elected to do it softly for the ratepayers. The ratepayers can't absorb a big hit. So we have placed it on a course of a positive after 2.5 years. After 2.5 years, we come back into the black and out of the red, and at the 5th year, we will achieve the point that we had needed to achieve. That is how we soften the blow to the ratepayers. And the ratepayers will look and say, you know what, you're raising rates all the time. It's not because we want to. It is because we are, number one, from a health and safety standpoint, we're responsible for providing good, clean water and doing the distribution of our waste stream and the collection of that and the cleaning of that. So all of these things cost more money than any of us agree it ought to. But the reality is, if we don't do it, we'll be in violation. And the most important thing is if we are in violation, there's a point in time that I can go to jail. And I am not going to go to jail. Ryan Becker, who is our plant operator, just raised his hand. He can go to jail if he doesn't do it properly. And that is the example of what we do and why we have certifications and everything else. And I'll stop talking. Thank you very much.
And I'll make a public statement. I'll put money on both of your books for you, because I care.
I thought Steve was going to say Ryan was volunteering to go for him.
Well, you know what, Steve? I remember when people would get mad at us when we could have the audiences here. Hopefully we'll get back to that. But I think no one likes to give the money out of their pockets. But you made the punch a little bit softer because we have a good water supply now. And they may be mad at us, but they can still take a shower. That's all I'm going to say. And let's keep rolling with that. So with that, let's go. So let's see. We didn't vote.
We have not voted.
We got to vote on the contract. So we have a motion by Director Stewart and a second by Director Wallis. Can I get a roll call vote for the approval of the GM's contract and the pay raise there attached to it?
President Webb?
Yes.
Vice President Glennan?
Yes.
Director Ben Stewart?
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallis?
Yes.
Director Greg Wood?
Yes.
5-0.
Well, that should reflect a 5-0 with that. And we'll continue down to presentations, and this is the water reclamation plant project. Okay, you guys keep adding more words to these. I noticed every time I read this update, we have Mr. Becker, the Senior Wastewater Treatment Plant Operator. You have the floor, sir.
Thanks, sir. Can you hear me if I sit right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to sit with my back to you just to
That's fine. We're good.
So, good evening. I'd like to go over a quick summary of the lab results from the 2018-2019 pilot test we did in regards to the board's question of our effluent limit and the plant process results in that time frame. On the board, as well as all your handouts, you guys have what I provided. At the end of 2018 through 19, we done a 1 acre plot to start a test, a pilot test, before we went in to design the new facility. We did this to make sure we could produce quality water and recharge the aquifer. Late in 2018, we received approximately 50,000 gallons of seed sludge from the Capacity wastewater plant. The irrigation rate when we were seeding is 8.8 million gallons. I have some lab results that we're going to go through, but I got to get some key stuff first at the top. I'm not going to take you through all the lab results at that time, but there are some things you need to know before we get started. There's some key parameters that were set by the Lahontan Regional Board. Some of those are the VOD, the maximum of 45 milligrams per liter, with an average of 30. NDAS is 5 of a max, with no average. Full nitrogen has no max, but an average of 10. And TSS has a 45 milligram per liter max, with an average of 30. The important thing to keep in mind is those averages are monthly, not Again, in that month, ammonia was a 2.1. You can see the progression. BOD was 14 milligrams per liter. Nitrates was a 1.2. Full nitrogen was a 5.5. TSS is a 3.2 milligrams per liter. We're above the max, or the average. We'll go in to March. March ammonia was a 2.9. BOD was a 15. Nitrates was a 4.3 milligram per liter. Full nitrogen was 5.2. And TSS was a 5.7. Once again, the max or the average was never exceeded. I'll jump ahead one more time, just to put this in perspective. In May, we had ammonia, none detected. BOD was a 9.5, MBAS was a 0.068 milligrams per liter. Nitrates was a 0.89, full nitrogen was a 2.3, and TSS was an 8.1. We sampled one more time that month. We sample every week and every day for process control samples. So the state Lahontan Regional Board requires us to clean samples to certified labs so many times a month and come up with these averages. Where this all comes together is the last one I'm going to read. The average for May for BOD was 7.8. The allowable from the Lahontan Board is 30. MBAS, as an average, was 0.069. The maximum they allow is 5. We were at 0.069. Full nitrogen was a 2.45. And the average for the month that is acceptable from the Lahontan Board is 10. The TSS was a 6.5 milligrams per liter with a max of 45 and an average of 30. That's how far below we are at the limit set. We are trying to produce the best possible quality water we can, serving both us, the district, and the community. Now, as you can see from the paper I provided, I added multiple months. I did not go over dissolved oxygen or pH because we're always in the parameters. I didn't feel that we need to go over that. I know our time is limited, so I wasn't trying to waste it. Feel free to go over the handout as you choose. To finish up, we shut off the pilot test in October 2019 because we had collected enough data to go ahead and justify building the facility. And that concludes the question product from last week. I would like to go ahead and move forward. One thing I would like to add is what we are doing with this treatment plant is cutting edge. And we are leading the forefront of wastewater. Our numbers will show that the processes that we do in circulating the water will heal the aquifer basin and result in a contaminant-free basin. Now with that, I'd like to go ahead and move on to the plant update. Maybe you go ahead and move to the first picture. So as far as, before I move into the plant update, you can leave that, it's okay. I'd like to announce that Connor Johnson, one of our new hires at the wastewater plant, I'll go ahead and leave that for Steve. Steve can bring that up. I'll go into the plant update. We completed hauling the organisms from the Avenue B wastewater plant last week. We got a total of 76,000 gallons brought in. I'd like to thank the Avenue B plant for allowing us to do this because it's not easy to take away your organisms to treat the wastewater that you depend on. It's not an easy thing to let go of. We have been feeding the wastewater treatment plant in a controlled manner. We're running process control samples every day to calculate a food to microorganism ratio, and we feed the plant, serve that ratio. We are in the very early stages of the process, but we are focused on growing the desired bacteria that will both nitrify and denitrify. I kind of put this together to show you. This is a microscope picture of a bug. It is a rotifer. To be more specific, it is a phyronate rotifer. There's multiple kinds of rotifers. The special thing about this rotifer is he's like a whale. He swims around and bites onto things and eats it and consumes it. The next is a Deloitte rotifer. You have to understand, when we take these pictures in the microscope, these organisms are moving. They're not still. This one is one of my favorites. You won't see it in this, but what he does is he anchors himself to a point and he stretches out as far as he can. At the end of him, I should say at the head of him, he has a wide mouth that he can open completely up. And he has arms and tentacles that he creates a vortex that actually sucks things into his mouth. That's how he eats. The big solid matter that you see there, that's organic matter that we're treating. He's full out. Yeah, would you zoom in on it? Yeah. Should be 73. Yeah. Now, this is a rotifer cluster. There's about 7 or 8 of them in here. You can see them depicted here. And you can see all the swimming, free swimming ciliates that are in there. This is just a video of kind of what you see. This is very zoomed in. We had to zoom in very close to get this. On a broader scale, there is just things moving everywhere. But these are all a good depiction of a rotifer cluster. This is just a still shot of a carnivorous free swimmer. Beautiful little guy that you saw swimming all around, just swimming, eating anything he can. This is what we like to see. Most of the organisms that you are seeing are young. Rotifers not so much, but a lot of it is young slugs. The adjudication plant has a 5 to 7 day turnover, MCRT. We're running 30 to 35. We have to develop an older sludge. With that comes different organisms. This is the Stockcilia bouquet. You can see them all. There's multiple different kinds in here. There's Ductora here with the spines on them. What they do is they hang out there and they just grab things. You have Vorticella, which is in here. I have a video of it that you will see next. These also have a very large mouth with arms that create a vortex and suck things in. And we have Apicalera. Apicalera is down here. Once again, they don't move a whole lot. They just have a mouth that bites and eats things as it swims by. But that's a nice bouquet of Stockcilia cluster. 2 more. One is the video. You can see, I don't know if you can see from there, but you can see their arms and everything moving, sweeping things in, creating that vortex. The others, as stuff dragged by, it just grabs it. The neat one to notice is in here, or up at the top, if you can see all the arms grabbing, sweeping things in. That's a pretty cool thing to see. It's just pretty neat. Lots of organisms. These large things are the stuff that we're treating. I have tons and tons of videos closer, farther away. I just tried to get some ones that I could today to show you. I hope you can see where they're pulling the vortex in on the inside.
How old are these bugs?
They're
Actually, in our facility.
mate and live again. They can survive temperatures hot as the sun. They're one of the neatest animals. They have 8 legs. They're a giant bear and have 8 legs. This is not a quality video of one. Here in the next few months, I'll present another video, and I'll show you a quality video, but you will see one here. It's hard to see. You can see them walking around. I have videos of them out in the open. You can see their legs, you can see their jaws, you can see their mouth. I tried making a section clip of him, but you can see him there walking around. He's got 8 different legs, and they're indicative of very old flesh. With that, the point of showing you these was, when you hear me refer to bugs, organisms, bacteria, I want you to know that they are real live living bugs, bacteria, whatever you would like to call them. You can't see them. You can touch them, but you won't see them with the naked eye. They are alive. They're living. They eat organic matter, and that's what treats our wastewater. We are currently letting the effluent to the facility go to the emergency overflow pond, and then we are pumping it out to our old evaporation pond. We do not want to let effluent water go to our newly designed circulation pond until I feel that the levels are acceptable and meet the requirements set by the state. As far as the plant update goes, we're working through many SCADA conflicts. As the process moves forward, we are addressing these issues as we come across them. But we are eager and we are willing to find solutions to these issues. We continue to work and move forward. And we do have a long road ahead of us before I feel comfortable telling you we're up and ready. However, we are at least now on the road. So with that, that concludes my presentation for you guys tonight, unless there's any questions that you would like me to address. Also, I'd like to point out that TN from Kennedy Jinx is on the phone, and if you have any specific questions for him, he can address. Go ahead, Mr. Glennan.
Does my stomach look like that in those bugs that are working in there? Not those specific bugs, but
Yeah, so
gut health is important.
yes, it is. The easiest way I can describe a wastewater plant to anybody and everybody, even a child, will understand. A wastewater plant is nothing more than a human body. You bring in food, you have organisms in your stomach that break that food down. Some gets utilized for energy, some in order to reduce this waste that is gotten rid of and disposed of. And the energy that is used is turned back to the front for more food to come in and start the cycle and break it down once again. That's a wastewater treatment plant. That's the easiest way I can describe it. It's nothing more than a human body.
So we're having a pretty good gut health out there.
We are. We're in the very early stages of it, but that is a very good start. Very
Thank you, sir.
You know, that was a very good presentation, Ryan. I wanted to go back to the lab report, and you know, for the public consumption, you know, I've seen these reports many times, and the thing that stuck out to me, and I just want to kind of put this out there in real simple terms, our biggest concern in our effluent is BODs and nitrogen. And when I look at this report that in 129, 2019, our BOD was 17.5, and our nitrogen was 7.75. And then I go and look at 9/27, 2019, our BOD is 6.45, and our nitrogen is 2.95. And, you know, Ryan pointed out that the numbers are well below the parameters set by the regional board. But the thing is to show that with your BODs, when you can reduce them on just the testing part before you're really up and running with the full plant, if you can go from 17.5 down to 6.45, that's remarkable. That is remarkable.
That has an influence coming in or going out.
Right. So, and then your nitrogen. Now keep in mind that we have to be below 10% to be within our permanent. Nitrogen level down to, 2.95. There would have to be something drastically go wrong for our numbers to go up to even 10. So with these kind of nothing but good news, because you can't get these numbers with a Title 22 plant. And I have given demonstrations in this community where you take 8 jars of water and they're tap water and Arrowhead, Avion, and Crystal Geyser and all that, sparklets, and then one jar will have Title 22 water, and you can't tell the difference on which one is which. And I guarantee you that the nitrogen in that Title 22 is going to be somewhere around 7 or 8. And so when you're putting out numbers of 2.95, that's just astounding. That's astounding, and it makes me very encouraged about the ability of this treatment plant and how good water is going to be going into our aquifer and helping replenish and build back the overdraft that has occurred in our aquifer that we have now.
Director Stewart? Hey, Ryan, let me just tell you one thing. I don't want excitement. And call it bugs, call it whatnot you want to call it. The fact that you were as excited as you was about that presentation tells me that we're onto something. Like I said, Greg and Ben understand the dynamics a lot more, but Ben whispered to me, those are good numbers. But your excitement tells me those are good numbers.
Thank you.
And I appreciate the effort there. One thing I would ask Steve or whatnot, if we can make this information available to the public in case they just want to look. It may not that you may have just that one person that doesn't believe the numbers that are here, so maybe we could just stick this on the side for them and look at it. But like I said, Brian, I go in your excitement, and the fact that you got excited about your bugs, more about what you do, man.
We can do that, as you said.
Yeah, I'm just saying because he gave us a good visual, but I think you may just have that one person, but that one person wants to see that. Let's share that one person.
We ran this test in a pilot back 2018 to 2019, and with the help of the district and very good training, I was able, with my staff, to produce those numbers. I'm very confident I can do it again. If I did it once, there's no reason I can't do it again. Things will be a little bit different this time. You have a second variation space and a second clarifier. Yes, they're not the same. I got to take care of 2 different people, and I'm interested to see how they're going to work and react with one another. And I'm eager to meet the challenges that are going to come across with that. And so I'm excited and ready to do it.
I think if your enthusiasm level stays the same, I think you'll be in a good way. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
So moving down to director report comments, agenda item. Let's start with Director Wood on the right side, on my left side here.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize on something that we were talking about earlier in our water. While we're gearing up right now in our water committees, drafting a letter in regards to water conservation and how Rosamond is approaching water conservation. I just want to go back to 2018 when we were in the middle of our ramp down because of the And this board made it a priority that we had to get water. We were pumping out of our wells about 2,600 acre-feet of water a year for the needs of this community. And we knew that we were going to be limited to pumping 403 acre-feet of water in a very short time. That day has come. And we made it a priority, and I am so happy that we were able to deliver for this community the fact that we have acquired water now that we can meet that 2,600 acre feet, and even more than that for our communities, not only today's needs, but tomorrow's needs, and years into the future. That this community, no matter what goes on in the rest of the Antelope Valley, no matter what goes on with ABEC, whether they can get water or not, this community, Rosamond, has water and will have water and won't have to worry about when they turn that tap on, that water will come out. And I just, again, want to say that is because of this board and this board's vision and our general manager being able to execute that vision and to get that taken care of. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Director Wood. Director Wallis? Director Stewart?
One thing, Steve, that I'd like you to look into, if you could, for is I want to see, it can't be something new, maybe work with our communication staff. I want to try to find an app, us get an app generated where people can report spills, leaky things, where there's a picture and then it help us out, maybe take the GPS off their phone or something, and instead of our staff driving around trying to find out certain things are on this street and they're really on that street, that type of stuff. So just give us a number of what that would cost. I think that would be, in this technology-based world we have right now, I think somebody's already doing it, and we'd just be slapping our logos on it and going from there. I don't feel like it'd be too much of a cost for the district, and I think it'd be a good service. That's all I got.
I like that. I was going to say that you stole my idea. Director Glenn?
Last week, the general manager and I had an informative meeting with Sarah Hodge, the regional affairs representative from Aqua. I represent RCSD on the Region 7 board. She encouraged me to attend the Region 8 program in August in Pasadena. To give you kind of a feel, Region 7 ends at the Kern County line and goes north for a long way. Region 8 picks up at the county line and goes south. All of Antelope Valley is in Region 8 except us, because we're in Region 7. So I plan to attend the next Region 8 meeting just to kind of get a feel for what's going on in their area, because we're kind of, I guess you could say, on the fence between both regions being right on the county line. It seems to be so much, you know, we have to go to Bakersfield, we're lost in Antelope Valley, they kind of ignore us, and we're so far away from Bakersfield, they kind of ignore us too. We're kind of like a stepchild here on the border.
In between.
When we become the only agency in the valley with water, they might look towards it.
Anyway, it was a very good meeting with her. And Steve filled her in on more information, I think, that she really wanted to know about RCSD, and she took lots of notes. She's used to dealing mainly with water agencies alone, because that's what Aqua is. And I think she was fascinated with what's going on in our sewer treatment plant, because she kept asking questions about it. New water. New water.
Well, I will say one thing. I think all of us will agree that from when we looked at the water back when Steve, I know when I was first board member, we never thought we'd be looking at the water droughts, the reservoirs where they're at now. But I think for all of that, and Greg touched on it briefly, we've been conserving water since what, 2008, we've been conserving water. I would almost argue we've been making it beneficial to everybody else to use more water. And then when we have to go buy water, we have the forethought to go out and buy it at a reasonable price. So for us to be the little kid on the block of finally shut the sub shop, we may be the smartest kid in the house for a minute. So let's see where that takes us. So on to committee reports. The Governmental Public Affairs Committee, we met, and this, what we wanted to do, we wanted to bring that letter, Greg, that you were talking about. We wanted to bring it out at the committee and give you full support on it and push it forward so that the UNC can craft that out and get it out to the governor's office. I think two things, and Steve, you brought up part of it. We don't want to tell them what they should be doing. We just want to let them know what we've been doing. And then maybe you can't compare everybody to the same size apple, because we've been saving for all this time now. I was looking at an article, strangely enough, in the Wall Street Journal, and they're now looking at Calabasas and the Agora Hills of the world and saying, oh, you can't have your lunch farm. And apparently, the Las Verdes Water District is going out putting, little governor, little valves on people's water without, deregulating. So I think that letter, and this is to let you know that we think it's a good idea to push forward with it. And as soon as you guys get it, completed, if you could just bring it back to the full board, let us know what's inside of it. But I think it's going to be a good idea. And I know it'll be, elegantly crafted so it doesn't say we're challenging, we're just, suggesting and whatnot. So, did you have anything on that, Byron?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. All right, so that's it.
President Webb, touching on what you said, I'd just like to add one thing that a lot of people don't realize, but you can go around and when you see a golf course, the average 18-hole golf course takes 1 million gallons of water a day to keep it watered and green. So when you see these lush courses, that's how much water it takes to keep it that way. So, this is the kind of stuff that, people need to take a hard look at in our communities. And this is what we're hoping that our approach with the state will do that, to say, congratulate and pat the community like Rosamond on the back for a job well done. And then look at the places where they have obviously got areas where they can trim back their water use some and be an equal partner, in the pain of water reduction that we've all felt in this community. So that's why I just wanted to put that out there so people have kind of an understanding just how much water it needs to keep that golf course green.
I think in crafting the letter, as you pointed out, President Webb, being respectful of the governor in crafting this letter, and but to rightfully point out, the community of Rosamond has gone above and beyond in their conservation efforts, above and beyond, and met every challenge, not only met, but exceeded the challenges set forth in other base years. Not only that, but the community of Rosamond has gone above and beyond by finding a way to try to heal our basin. And that is what you touched on, Director Wood, with the water reclamation plan. We're cleaning up approximately 1,200 acre feet is what will produce or more. And that's additional water that never used to be produced for the aquifer. And we're cleaning up that water, we're producing it, and we get credit for that. That credit alone, the wastewater treatment plant may exceed $17 million, but that credit at today's price, knowing the prices, could cost us in excess. I had estimated it early, but the price of water has gone up as the drought continues, and it could exceed $10 million. So the value of us healing the basin is producing a benefit back to the ratepayers of this district to the tune of over $10 million.
That's outstanding. Like I said, we've talked about it, but I think now it's time, for the letter. Let's push forward with it, because I think that we all know what the problem is. We're all in the same drought, but recognize the fact that we've been doing our part. Go ahead, Chief.
And I think the theme of the letter is one size does not fit all. Look at those that aren't conserving. Go after the ones that are not doing their share, not those that are.
I think when you look at the water thing, Ben bought up a cemetery, you said 300 acre feet. You bought up a golf course. Those are things that we see every day and we don't really think about. And we're talking about water that people use for their day-to-day functions. But like I said, we'll get there. I'm confident. Like I said, Greg's a pretty good crafter of words, and you're a pretty good cleaner up of the words crafted. So we'll get there.
I'll have that letter for you the first part of the week, Steve.
We'll get there. Okay, let's go ahead to legal counsel. Are you there, sir?
No, he's not. I gave him the night off.
Okay, there we go. Let's go down. General Manager's report update. Steve, you have the floor.
Yes, I'd like to report that we have a very, very positive at the water reclamation plant. As you're aware, we hired two new operators, a grade 2 and a grade 1. And our grade 1 just passed his grade 2 test.
That's very good. Congratulations.
And that's exciting as heck. When I was told today that was happening, Mike Popacek said he passed his test.
Good for him.
He may have a little bit of time before he can actually jump into the grade 2 position. But we're looking at having a couple of grade 2s, possibly 3 grade 2s out there, and Ryan as a grade 3 and the chief operator.
Flexibility.
That is excellent. And if you recall, we were at over the 11th hour thinking we can't find anybody, and boom, we have this now.
That's very good. That is very good news.
So,
you know what? I can't, and I know the dynamics what they are now, but because of those new folks there, maybe we could have them come in so we could just see who they are, say hi to them or whatever, because I know they were brand new, and the COVID's kind of changed a lot of the dynamics, but I think they need to be recognized for their efforts. And from what I keep hearing, to get these certifications are not simple. So let's bring them in if we could, so we can recognize who they are. Tell them thank you, directly. If we could, I think that'd be good news on that.
very good. Thank you.
That's all you had?
Yeah, I was going to give the, we're not there yet, but we're going into it. The public.
So your report was done?
I'm done.
Okay, so we have public works update, so if you have it, go ahead, Steve.
John has a family member down, and he had to go off to that. I told him I would give the report. We've been inundated with water leaks. It's nothing new during the summer, but the guys have been just chasing water leaks all over. This is something that I know that people want to know, why are we always chasing it? Well, they're various things. Some of the pipes are in rocky soil, and they impact the pipe, especially up by Greg's place. That whole thing is a lot of rocks. Could it have been shaded different? Probably. And when we do stuff in the future in a rocky area, we may have to require them to bring in a soil free of rocks to shade with prior to backfilling. So it will knock down the amount of repairs that we go through. It's something we're looking at now and discussing. So that happened. The other thing is if you recall in our strategic plan, succession, and all of those things, in John's operations area, he has 2 members in there that will be succeeding into higher positions of responsibility shortly. So we're going to have a successive move in the district. John's pretty happy about that, and the guys are happy that there's some movement in the district. That keeps people working, and they have something to look forward to. We're still encouraging training, and getting people further trained so they can do a great job for the community. And it seems to be working at this point.
Good. You know, Steve, one of the things I feel kind of bad about, we kind of have a fixed number. There's only so much movement, and that's why the board's always encouraged to train whatever it can, because the other side of it, we all know that people are always looking for that other opportunity. But it seems like you guys work on the loyalty side and keeping people real loyal to you folks there. And I think the community needs to know that they're pretty good hands across the board, up and down the ladder there. So that's good to know. Like I said, I feel pretty good about where we're at today, this minute. Ryan, thank you for that report. That was good information. Like I said, if everyone got as happy about bugs as you did, it would be in a good way. Hey, you know what? Here, that's how the community stays well. Steve, you brought up something about the mandates from the safety side of it. I don't think folks realize how these things tie back in. And I want to close on one thing. You said it years ago, Steve. You said about things being on the tax roll. You said we lost $500,000 that we would never see again. And folks need to realize that once it sails down the river, you ain't getting it back. So they may be mad about it, but in the long run, that's money saved. So with that, can I get a motion for an adjournment? I got a motion by Director Stewart. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Well, Director Wallis, can I get a roll call vote, please?
President Rick Webb?
Yes.
Vice President Byron Glennan? Yes. Director Ben Stewart?
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallis?
Yes.